Hello. This is our lesson today on polynomial long division. Our essential question is, how do we perform long division in polynomials? And the first thing I want to do is remind you of some vocabulary. The first one is polynomial. Polynomial just means many terms. And the second word that I want to bring up is the word root or roots. These would be binomials, which divide into the polynomial with no remainder. And so let's go ahead and get started into our first example. In this example, we want to divide x cubed minus 3x squared minus 4x plus 12. And we want to divide that by x minus 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the problem with my long division. Just setting it up with the x cubed minus 3x squared minus 4x plus 12 underneath our long division symbol, and then x minus 2 is our divisor, so it's over here off to the side. And so now we're going to go ahead and start dividing it. Now when you're dividing it, first thing you want to do is you want to figure out, what do I need to multiply by the x to get x cubed? So my first step is, what do I multiply by x to get x cubed? So whatever that first term of your divisor is, that term you're going to figure out, what do I multiply by it to get the first term of your original problem. Now, one thing I want to point out, if you are missing any terms in your divisor or in your original problem, you need to make sure that you fill them in with zeros, and I'll show you an example of that in just a few minutes. So, what times x gives me x cubed? And the answer to that is x squared. Now notice, because I have all my terms here, when I put my first term into my quotient up here, this term will be located right above the one of similar degree. So x squared, because every term is here, x squared will be right above where the 3x squared is. So that's important to note. That kind of helps you to know where it's going to line up. Alright, so now we're going to do the second step, just like we would in regular long division. We're going to multiply x squared times x. So we're going to multiply whatever we just got by both of these terms over here, and we're going to fill them in. So x squared times x, we get x cubed. X squared times minus 2, we get minus 2x squared. And now, just like in normal long division, my next step would be to subtract. Well, what subtracting does in this situation is it changes all of my signs of my little polynomial that's right here. So I'm going to make a little note here, change the signs. That's what that's going to do. So right here, that's going to become a negative x cubed, and this is going to become a plus 2x squared. So once we've changed the signs, now we're going to add like terms together. They should be lined up. And if they're not, then we made a mistake. We didn't fill in something that was missing. So let's go ahead and combine these together. X cubed, take away x cubed. That first term should always cancel, because we got that first term by figuring out what we needed to multiply by the first term over here, so that we got that first term. So it should always cancel. Negative 3x squared plus 2x squared gives me a negative 1x squared here. You can put the 1 there if you want to. And then I'm going to, just like in regular long division, I am now going to bring down the next term, or number. So this is going to come down. So I now have that negative x squared minus 4x. And now I'm ready to go repeat these same steps again. So Step number 5 is repeat steps 1 through 4. So, what do I need to multiply by x so that I get negative x squared? Well, I need a negative, and x times x will give me that x squared. So negative x times x gives me that negative 1x squared. Negative x times a negative 2 gives me a positive 2x. Repeating, step 3 says to subtract, change my sign, so let's go ahead and do that. This becomes plus, this becomes minus. Negative 1x squared plus 1x squared cancels. Negative 4x plus a negative 2x gives me a negative 6x. So I've completed step 3. Step 4, bring down the next term. So this little term is going to come down here. So I now have negative 6x plus 12. And now I'm on step 5, which says repeat those steps again. So going back to step 1, what do I multiply by x to get x cubed? We are going to multiply by, see, we need a negative 6x times x, so I need a minus 6 when I multiply by x to give me a negative 6x. So that works. A negative 6 times a negative 2 gives me a positive 12. Step 3, subtract, change your sign, so this becomes a positive 6x, this becomes a negative 12. Add like terms, combine like terms, these cancel, and the 12, take away the 12 also cancels, so I now have a remainder of 0. Now because I got a remainder of 0, that means that x minus 2 is a root of the original problem, x cubed minus 3x squared minus 4x plus 12. We'll talk more about that in a lesson later that we do this week. So my answer to the original problem, which was divide x cubed minus 3x squared minus 4x plus 12 by x minus 2, my answer is x squared minus x minus 6. And notice that there is no remainder, so I do not need to write that down as a remainder. Okay, go ahead and pause, finish copying this, and then we'll do one more example. Okay, welcome back. Example 2, this time I want to divide 3x cubed minus 2x plus 6 by x minus 6. So the first thing I'm going to do is set up my problem. So x minus 6 is my divisor, it goes out here. 3x cubed minus 2x plus 6 goes underneath the division symbol. Notice that we're missing a term here, and the term that we're missing is the x squared term. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it in with a 0x squared to hold that space open, and then I'm going to write the rest of it. Okay, so now we're going to repeat the same steps that we did before. Step number 1, what do I need to multiply by? So I need to get 3x cubed. I have x that I'm multiplying by, so we are going to multiply by a 3 so that I get the 3, and an x squared so that I get 3x cubed. So 3 times this gives me 3, x squared times x gives me x cubed. So that first term is exactly the same. Now we're going to multiply it times the minus 6, so 3 times the minus 6 is a minus 18, and then x squared. No x's here, so we'll just end up with an x squared. Okay, next step. Step 2 from above was we now need to change this to subtractions. Let's go ahead and do that. So this becomes minus 3x cubed and this becomes a positive 18x squared. So we change both of our signs. If we have 3 terms, we change all the signs. It doesn't matter how many terms, just go through and change all of your signs. And now we're going to combine like terms. 3x cubed, take away 3x cubed. Again, if this first term does not cancel out, you need to go back and re-look at this number we were multiplying by, because it must cancel out. 0x squared plus 18x squared is 18x squared. And so we finished that. Now we're going to bring down our next term so we can continue the process. So bringing down the minus 2x. And now we need to ask, what are we going to multiply by x to get 18x squared? And if you said 18x, you are correct. Very good. Now, notice again that it's lining up right above where the x term is, so that kind of gives you a hint as to what kind of term we're looking for. 18x times x gives me 18x squared. Count your x's, we have 2 of them. And then 18x times minus 6 gives us a very big number. What is 18 times 6? 18 times 6 is... Sorry, the problem with using calculators. You sometimes end up with mistakes. 18 times 6 is 108. So this will be a minus 108x. Now we're going to change our signs. So minus and plus. Notice again the 18x squareds, they cancel. That first term should always cancel. 108 take away 2 is 106x. And now we bring down our next term, which is also our last term. And so now the question is, what do we need to multiply by x to get 106? And if you said 106, you are correct. 106 times x is 106x. 106 times 6 is another big number. It is 636, and that'll be a minus because it was a minus. Changing both of our signs, so this becomes a minus, this becomes a plus, so 636 plus 6 is 642. So notice this time that we have a remainder. Because we have a remainder, that means that x minus 6 is not a root of the original problem, which was 3x cubed minus 2x plus 6. Okay? Our answer to this problem is actually what we ended up with up here on top, plus our remainder. Now there's 2 ways to write this. 3x squared plus 18x plus 106. Remainder 642. Sometimes you'll see it written that way, but most of the time you're going to see it written the second way, which is 3x squared plus 18x plus 106 plus 642 over whatever we were dividing by. And we were dividing by x minus 6, so we would rewrite it as the remainder over the divisor. So 3x squared plus 18x plus 106 plus 642 over x minus 6. And that's it for long division. We will practice some on Wednesday, so make sure you have your notes taken by Wednesday. Have a good day, and be blessed.